As you know, Vybz Kartel, whose real name is Adidja Palmer, his legal team has since entered some new evidence to the Privy Council to help with his appeal. The Privy Council has subsequently turned that information down, but the overall appeal is still going on. That's still in play. So, a lot of people have been reporting that, his appeal has been turned down, and it's just the new evidence is not being allowed. Now, the reason why I do this video, because to be honest with you, I wasn't going to do this video at all, because I understand that Vybz Kartel fans in particular, they're very fanatical. So, which is kind of funny, but that's besides the point. So I decided that, I'm going to look a little bit more into this, because something that struck my peripheral. Now, this is just a question, because as you know, I like to ask questions, okay? Now, this question might be an old question, and I'm late to the party, and, the whole of Jamaica already knew this already. But, I've decided that, since the situation with the Privy Council rejecting this so-called new evidence that the legal team of, Vybz Kartel tried to put forward, and the situation in regards to the Privy Council, all I can say, so that I don't, sort of preempt that situation, is that, it's really unfortunate that, Vybz Kartel is in the predicament he's in. After all, he's a very talented, reggae artist, dancehall artist. He's very skilled in the way he carries his work. He's I think he's the most influential, dare I say. He is the most influential reggae dancehall artist since Bob Marley. I know we have the Beenie Man, we have the Bounty Killers, we have the Sean Paul, the Shaggy. We have so many names to mention. I mean, the list is endless, to be honest. Not leaving out Ninja Man, who himself I think is also incarcerated in prison. So I'm going to give everybody their credit, but let's be honest here. Vybz Kartel has single-handedly been the most influential dancehall artist for a very long time. I mean, all the others have, has affected and affected the, the dancehall space in their own right. So I'm not taking away their crown. What I'm saying is, when it comes to Vybz Kartel, he's just a different breed, bro. He's just different. Now, we can sit here and we can disagree with the lyrics and the messaging in his songs, and whether we condone some of the lyrics and stuff in his songs. I'm sure, Vybz Kartel is going to sit up there and say it's just metaphorical, it's art, it's this, that, and the third. I've done a video about, violent music already that debunked, that politician, I forgot his name, I'll just put his name up on the screen, that basically tried to say that, there's no correlation between, violent music and, and how people act in real life. And I've done a study that debunked that completely. But having said that, Vybz Kartel is unquestionably one of the most, influential artists coming out of Jamaica, and he's got fans nationally and internationally. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm not going to really delve into the case per se. But what I will say is, unfortunate that, he's in the predicament he's in. It's also unfortunate that the predicament he's in was partly as a result of a conversation that most of us have heard, the leaking recordings going around on social media, on the internet, with conversations about, shoes and blah, 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 and this, that, and the third. I don't have to go into too many details. I'm sure most of us have all heard it. And I'm thinking to myself, why is such conversations being had over over a phone? Let me tell you something. I keep saying this. Phones are not private and they're not confidential. Let me tell you what algorithms can do, since a lot of people don't seem to understand. Algorithms can turn your phone on when you turn it off. Algorithms can switch on your Wi-Fi when you switch it off. Algorithms can switch on your camera when you switch it off. Algorithms can turn on your mic when you turn it off, or you mute it. It can unmute your mic, okay? And that's just scratching the surface. So the phone is not something to play with. Algorithms can track your phone, track where you go. Algorithms can look at your browsing history. They can in real time dynamically look exactly what you're looking at the time you're looking at it. So just the same way applications can monitor the different social media applications can monitor what type of content you consume, and then they know what to feed you and what advertisement to push on you. depends on, what you're consuming in terms of content. So once we understand that, you realize that phone conversations they're just not private, they're not confidential. And besides, most providers of these networks do keep logs going back years, probably even 10 or more years, of every history of that phone in terms of text messages, email messages, conversations, who you call, who called you, blah blah blah, the whole 9 yards. And with a subpoena from the government or any legal entity, they have to release that information, especially if it's to do with the court of law. So they're not private, and it's just unfortunate that a conversation like the one many of us have heard has taken place over a phone very callously, and and now the accused parties are sitting in prison because of it. Now, to the fans, I understand how you feel. And you could sit there and say, free world boss, the system are fighting. But at the end of the day, what's on those tapes is kind of incriminating. And that's me putting it lightly. So I'm very careful not to go too much into cases like this because it's very sensitive. And before you know it, you can find yourself in another situation that you didn't bargain for simply because you're reporting on something. Okay, so this is why when it comes to cases with Vybz Kartel, I kind of stay away from it. However, the reason why I've decided to do this video is because, as I've mentioned a bit earlier, is I said to myself, okay, so new information has been brought before the Privy Council for them to look at, but they, in terms of, Vybz Kartel appeal, but then they've rejected it. And then I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what got into me. I decided that, I'm going to go over to Andrew Holness's page over on Wikipedia and just do a bit of digging, because I've done previous videos with him. One with him, when he was at the backtrack with the taxi new traffic laws, and the second one where he was investigated for corruption. Now, those alleged corruptions, he's been exonerated, and we've moved on from that. So because of all of that, I've decided to go over to his page, and then I discovered something that I thought, wow, I didn't know this. And as I say, I'm going to go into it next. Most people probably know this information already, but for me, it was news. But here's a case where the Privy Council is involved, Vybz Kartel is involved. I've done a video previously about democracy and independence and so on, and whether Jamaica is really an independent sovereign country, because here we have the Privy Council of a sovereign country, foreign country, presiding over and superseding the highest courts in Jamaica. So with that said, let's just jump into this page and I'll show you what I've discovered. And as I say, many of you might have already know this, and I might be the one that's late to the party, and for you guys it's yesterday's news. So let's go. Here I am over on Andrew Holness's Wikipedia page, and it's just like a sixth sense says to me, go and visit Andrew Holness's Wikipedia page, because where there's the situation with Vybz Kartel and his legal team attempting to enter new evidence to help and support his appeal case, which is subsequently been rejected by the Privy Council. So since it's been rejected, the main appeal process is still undergoing. That's still ongoing. So just so we're clear about that, because a lot of people have been putting out information to say his appeal case has been rejected, and that's not true. Now, I'm scrolling down, I'm trying to getting some cursory information about him. Obviously, this is the information that most people can edit, or a selection of people can edit. But obviously, this is stuff that he probably want to see more to do with his legacy. So early life, there it is there, his early life. Scroll down, his political career. So I'm going through it, I'm looking at stuff, and I'm thinking, interesting. So I'm scrolling, I'm looking at stuff, and then I saw honors, and I'm like, oh, he's been honored. Wow, so he's had a member of the Order of the Nation. He's got an honor from Jamaica for that. Then he's got 2 foreign honors. One of them is Dominican Republic, Grand Cross with Gold Breast Star. I'm not going to pronounce that name, but he's got that honors. I'm going to embarrass myself. And then there's the United Kingdom honor, and I'm thinking, United Kingdom? And then I saw, okay, 26th of May, he's got an honor. What was it for? Member of Her Majesty's, but it's His Majesty's now, so they need to edit that. So if you're watching, Prime Minister, get your team to edit this. Or whoever did this, they need to edit this and put IS instead of ER, okay? So member of His Majesty's Most Honourable Privy Council. So that information is what it is. And I'm thinking, is that the same Privy Council we're talking about? Let me just jump into this just to confirm. And then I highlight it, and it says, the Privy Council official His Majesty, Most Honourable Privy Council. So they've corrected it there, His Majesty, but they haven't corrected it here in the link. But it doesn't matter. We understand. So I click into it, and yes, it is the official Privy Council based in the UK. So then I'm scrolling down, the list of the Privy Council, stuff about the Privy Council, and I'm thinking, I want to see a list of members of the Privy Council to make sure that, is he a part of the Privy Council as a member, or is it just some type of honorary thing which is just, figuratively really doesn't bring any clout. So I'm down here and I'm looking at a list of current Privy Councillors. So I'm thinking, okay, let me just click on this. So there I am, I'm clicking on it, I'm moving down the scale, and there's a list of the different people, their names and the dates they've been sworn, appointed and sworn in. Shadow Home Secretary, this, that. There's quite a few people. Some of them are foreigners as well, from foreign particulars. And I think, if I remember right, this is some 100 and something members of this, within the Privy Council, including, politicians or members from the House of Commons, as well as, people from the House of Lords. So there he is, Andrew Holness, same person, Commonwealth politician. He's been appointed the 26th of May 2021 Prime Minister of Jamaica since 2016 to present. So there's no mistake. And I'm like, okay, so if Andrew Holness is the member of the Privy Council, I'm sure it's made up of some 100 and something members. Would he have any influence in, helping Vybz Kartel's case in that respect? And my initial thought was, given the Jamaican mentality, it's like, yeah, man, if you put in a word, a man no another man can put in a word for you now, you know what I'm saying? But then on the other hand, I'm like, the Privy Council is not like Jamaica's system in terms of its formatting. So with over 100 and odd members, I think Andrew Holness's voice and weight would carry little, if any at all, in that respect. And then there's a question of whether he would want to lend his voice and put his character online, if you like, in that respect. So that's number 2. And number 3 is, of course, you could put in a word, but whether that will actually carry any weight is another thing. So I just thought this was interesting to put in this video. Now, as I've said, maybe the whole of Jamaica already know that he's, a member of the Privy Council and has been sworn in some 2 years ago, and I'm late to the party. And if that's the case, that's the case. But I just find it interesting that, this situation of a foreign sitting prime minister, is part of the Privy Council in the UK. I thought personally that only people from the House of Lords would make up the Privy Council, but I've since learned that people from the House of Commons also make up the Privy Council. And then I've realized that not only people from the House of Commons that make up the Privy Council, as well as people from the House of Lords, is foreign dignitaries as well. I assume is from the Commonwealth. So because he's part of the Commonwealth, which sort of begs me the question, because I did a video about a year ago, or over a year ago, which didn't get much views, by the way, where I questioned the democracy and independence of Jamaica. And in that video, I did assert that, Jamaica is not an independent sovereign state and I mentioned Vybz Kartel case then in that context, because I was thinking, if Jamaica is an independent sovereign state, why when the Vybz Kartel legal team went over to Jamaica, went to the highest courts in Jamaica, to appeal and fight Vybz Kartel's case, as you know, Adidja Palmer. Why did they have to, when they're completely turned down, why did they look to go over to the Privy Council in another foreign country to overturn and supersede the case? Why is that? And that's when I realized that, I haven't just realized, I've been arguing for years that Jamaica is not an independent sovereign country, because if they did, they wouldn't go to the Privy Council for anything. But there you have it. That's a separate story. That's a separate video. The video is over on this channel. You can go see it. That's that respect. So I'm thinking that's the reason why I've done this video, to be honest. Not because I'm for or against the situation with Vybz Kartel. It's just simply because I'm thinking this situation has come up with with him in regards to the Privy Council and this new information that his legal team is trying to put forward. And then I've figured out that, hang on a second, so this guy's part of the Privy Council. Struck me a bit interesting. This was an interesting thing, really. Not trying to purport anything in particular. It's just interesting, and I thought I'll include it in the video. And that's the reason why I do this video. Not that one have anything directly to do with the other, but I just found it interesting. And that's all I really want to say in this video. Until next time, Keep it locked. Stay cool.